dare call Peter, the leader of the church, etc., 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 a hypocrite? Can you explain this to me? And Jerome says, after waiting a year to answer him, there are some things best left uninquired about. There is no answer to it, obviously. But the answer is what we're dealing with here, the anger they feel over someone who rejects their position. Muhammad has these people he calls hypocrites or backsliders. I think the word in Arabic is munafiqeen, or munafiqun, I think it is, that's what the word is. Anyone in the Arabic speaking, give me a better translation than that? Munafiqun, I think it is, or munafiqun. In any case, they're the hypocrites, the backsliders. They're people who have come into Islam but have not really followed it and are lukewarm Muslims and are really backsliding and betraying it. I think it's terms used in the present period as well. Okay, I think I've said enough about this surah. Let's look at what's in it. So we can recognize these later surahs by the enemies in them. And as I said, some of the enemies are these munafiqun, hypocrites. So I think you can, there's two categories here in the surah of the cow. And you say, well, aren't they in the early surahs? I didn't see them in the early surahs. We read the early surahs. Because he's not the leader of a community at that time. He's not the boss, as it were, the military commander, the commander of the faithful. He's not dealing with backsliders there. He's dealing with situated people, trying to encourage people to keep on struggling. So he doesn't have those terms as such. The Jews don't play any part in the early service because he hasn't met any Jews to speak of in Mecca. It's only in Medina that he meets them. Okay, you said, well, he's influenced by the Jews. I didn't say he met them in Mecca, did I? I said he may have met them second-hand, third-hand, other places, even Christians, sectarian Christians, heretical Christians, Ebionites, people halfway in between, people on the caravan trade, people in southern Iraq, people in northern Iraq. There's many places, people in southern Yemen. I didn't say he met them in Mecca, so don't say, oh, Professor Eisenman, where did he meet them? He didn't necessarily meet them in Mecca. I don't think he did. Okay, let's read this. Alif Mim Mim, the surah of the cow. By the way, even the name of the surah of the cow, what's it based on? Well, surprisingly enough, it is something that's a very obscure thing in Jewish Mosaic Torah law. It's called the red heifer. The red heifer. And what it is something that enthusiasts for rebuilding the third temple are very interested in at the present time. And he knows about it. And that's what this surah is named after. He knows about this. That's how precise his knowledge is. He calls it a yellow heifer. That's just a translation from Arabic into English. He means a heifer of an odd hue and of all pure one color. And it has to do with finding one of these heifers, which is halfway between a calf and a cow, and finding it and then, sacrificing it, immolating it, and taking its ashes for special purification purposes. And he refers to that here in the surah of the cow. That's how much of the Torah of Moses' law he knows. And he doesn't play games with it as Paul does. He doesn't say, for instance, as Paul does in 1 Corinthians, Moses put a veil over his face, as I've told you, so that the children of Israel wouldn't know that the light of the law had gone out. In other words, in the Exodus, Moses is in the tent. Not that I believe these stories, I'm not saying you should, but that's what the story says. He's in the tent of meeting and he's talking to God face to face, and his face is irradiated from being in the divine presence, whether it's up on Mount Sinai or in the tent of meeting. It's all in the book of Exodus. And so that to protect the people from being burned up or irradiated when they see him from having been in God's presence, he puts a veil over his face so that they won't be burned or something. It's a mythological story. I'm not entertaining it. It's a historical fact. But that's what the story is. But then you can't come along like Paul and say, oh, well, he put a veil over his face because he was a charlatan and didn't want the people to know that there was nothing in what he was teaching. That's what Paul says in 1 Corinthians. Fair enough, if that's what you want to say about it. But it's not a very kind thing to say. It's not what the story said. But Muhammad doesn't do that kind of thing. Muhammad, when it's about the red heifer, he takes the red heifer seriously. He really does. He's interested in the red heifer. In any case, that's what this sort of name of people think it's named after the golden calf, but it isn't. It's named after the red heifer. And I'll just tell you that, and hopefully we'll get to that for today. I don't think I've wasted a lot of time. I apologize. He starts off, "Oh, those of you who believe 3 in the unseen, establish worship, and that which was revealed." 6, "Warn them, or warn them not." He's still a warning, a warner.